Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be continuing our road to Zack Snyder's Justice League with the final video for this series up until, of course, we review Zack Snyder's Justice League, which I will actually get a chance to watch that in theaters, which is kind of insane. I am super excited to watch that movie finally after all these years. But first, of course, I had to go back and watch the original Justice League that came out in 2017, directed by Zack Snyder. Not really at all, not even in the slightest way. Maybe 20 or 30% is what I'm hearing from the current embargo review lift from the Zack Snyder Justice League, from the critics who are seeing that movie. So we're going to be going back and watching this movie, and I just did it, and okay, I don't hate this movie. I don't absolutely despise it like some people. I think I think it's a polished turd. I truly believe that's the best way for me to describe this movie for you guys. It's cotton candy fluff that is just used to have like a nice glossy finish over it to make the illusion of being a good movie. But in reality, this is just kind of the skeleton of a movie that could be great. And I think that is the biggest takeaway for me watching this film before watching Zack Snyder's Justice League. Because yes, this movie has the bones of what we will watch in a few days here. I truly do believe that this new movie that we're going to get has the general structure and is going to end in pretty much the same way as this movie does. You're going to have the Justice League form together. You're going to meet all of them separately. They're going to come together. They're going to have a couple battles and things are not going to work out. They're going to have a few scuffles along the way, but by the end they're going to bring back Superman and they're going to have one last fight with Steppenwolf and they're going to defeat him, stand on that ledge like you see in the Snyder Cuts trailer, and it's a happy-ish ending, and then you're going to get some tease for Darkseid and it's going to be a cliffhanger end, and that's going to be the main difference for the ending. But those bones that I just said is going to be in both those movies because there's only so much you can change when you do an entire thing. And before you guys say, yes, it's a completely different movie, I agree. There's still, like, maybe 3.5 hours of footage that we have not seen, which is insane. So what was the point in me saying all of that? The point is that this movie has that structure and has those bones, but it doesn't have the organs or the heart or the meat or the flesh or the skin or anything holding it together. It is just a mess. It is a huge disaster of a movie. This thing does not work for me on every single level because those characters and that bringing together this league and those arguments that they have within each other just do not work in this film because you don't have time to get introduced with these people. You don't have time to see why this league really needs to be formed to save the world. You don't care about the villain and all of this stuff. All this stuff that is essential for being a movie in general is not in this thing. This thing is a hollow husk, like I said, a polished turd. They just had a little shine on it. They had an extra color correction and boost the saturation and thought maybe it'll be a good movie. This movie is a complete disaster. I absolutely hate it. No, I don't hate it. I think it's enjoyable. I just watched it and it's enjoyable. I'm like going back and forth. I don't know. It's okay. So let's just get into this thing. Like I said, the character stuff is the biggest thing lacking from this movie that I do believe we are going to get a lot better, at least in Zack Snyder's Justice League. And this is the main reason why I'm excited for this, because in this movie, when I saw it for the first time, I was like, yeah, it was enjoyable. I want to watch it again. And I watched it again. I was like, okay, yeah, it's enjoyable. And I never watched it again after that. And I finally did again. And the things that I enjoyed from it, I still do enjoy. I do think that Ray Fisher as Cyborg is something that has really intrigued me after watching this movie, and that is something that I really wanted more of. I was very fascinated by his character because I don't know much about Cyborg from the comics. I'm not a comics reader, but from this movie, I really became interested with this character because you can tell just from this movie alone that this character is so important to the story, and you just don't get that aspect of his character in this film, and you know that they cut stuff out from him, and you know how important his character was because he was the one tearing apart the mother boxes. This whole movie circulates around them collecting 3 boxes. Like, there's only so much you can do with a story plot-wise with that, but with the characters and with this guy being literally made from the mother boxes and that connection that he has to it, it could be a very personal story for Cyborg. And I think Ray Fisher in this film still is very, very good, and I do enjoy his performance, and I cannot wait to see more of him, and I really hope that Warner Brothers, gets their shit together and bring him back into the fold instead of getting rid of him from the Flash and cutting him off because he's trying to fight for things. Accountability is important to this dude, and it's important to me as well. Get Ray Fisher back. The justice for Ray Fisher should definitely be a hashtag at this point. He's been fighting the good fight for so long, and I'm really excited that he gets his chance to show the world what he was really going to do in this film. That's why I wanted to mention him first, because he was the standout in this film, along with, I will say, Ezra Miller's Flash had some very funny moments in this film. And I do think, in terms of humor, in terms of Justice League, I think it's a two-sided coin. Half the jokes are really great, especially when it comes to Ezra Miller, but the other half just completely falls flat on its face. And I do think there are a few things in this film, some looks that he has, some glances when he's fighting Superman, and Superman just turns his head and he's looked at for the first time. That entire fight sequence is honestly really good, and you can tell that that is actually from Zack Snyder's vision. You can tell some shots are, the mustache-less Superman CGI disaster that was, but that's a whole other thing. And so the things that were a standout for me was Ezra Miller as the Flash, which I'm very excited that we're still getting his movie, and of course Ray Fisher's Cyborg. When it comes to the main three, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, I think those three could really use some work in this movie, because when it comes to Batman, he just is not a leader in this movie. In this version of this movie, he just does not lead. He's supposed to be that character where at the end of the movie, when he's about to, I guess, kind of sacrifice himself, I don't see that at all. That just does not come across the screen whatsoever. And him bringing together the League, again, there's the bones of that, but there's no meat, there's no substance behind it. And I really want more of Ben Affleck Batman, because I really do like him. If you go back and watch my review for Batman vs. Superman, that's what I say. I do think the theatrical version of that movie was more so a Batman movie, and the Ultimate Edition was more so a Superman movie. But I do believe that this character could be a good Batman and be a good leader and bring together this League in a meaningful way and bring back Superman in a meaningful way. But that just is when it comes to time and how much was cut out of this movie. And I think some of the writing, in terms of, you can tell the rewrite scenes. When Bruce is talking to Alfred and he's like, taking out the bat suit, and he just... It looks like a reshoot scene. There's a lot of scenes that just, when it comes to Batman, you can tell that his hair is different. You can tell that he's just not built as well as he was when he first originally shot it. You can definitely tell with Ben Affleck that in the scenes where they were reshooting, he just did not care anymore. And that's because of his personal life and him being an alcoholic, and how he went into rehab so many times after this point, and how he just gave up on this character and he was so soured by it. And I really feel bad for his experience and everybody's experience on this film, because it was such a disaster. And you can tell when Ben Affleck in this movie just flat out did not care. And Gal Gadot does her best with the material that she's given, but again, she's just not really given much. I want more from this character. Her character was reduced down to just being sad that Steve Trevor was gone. And I don't know if this is going to be in the Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't know if that's going to be her whole character motivation of just, oh, I'm still sad that Steve Trevor died 100 years ago. I mentioned that in the Wonder Woman review that I just did. I really don't know if they're going to continue that storyline, and I hope they don't. That's one of my hopes, that they really give her a lot more to do in Zack Snyder's version of this movie. But in this one, she really doesn't do anything, but she is still awesome as a character, and her action sequences with Steppenwolf in particular were the best in the movie. I really love her as this character, and I really love her in those action scenes. I do think she is awesome as this character, but in terms of, I guess, the actual character development for her in this film, it just is not there. And Aquaman, I will say that Aquaman was a bright point in this movie as well, along with, Cyborg and the Flash, and introducing these characters that we hadn't seen before previously. His, my mans, and just the lines that he has throughout the movie, and his energy that he brings to the character was very fun, and I think he's kind of just there. I love the scene where he's sitting on the lasso and he's saying all these things like they're going to die and all that. I do think that's a Justice League reshoot scene, but I do think that worked in terms of the Joss Whedon humor. I do think that part worked quite a bit for me when he threatened the Flash. I thought that was pretty funny. But besides that, he's not really in it much. But when he does ride that parademon through a building like a surfboard, that was pretty cool. And then of course there is Superman. And when I think of this movie, I think maybe one scene in this movie really stands out to me. Everything else is kind of a blur, especially the opening scene with Superman with that phone footage. Awful. That opening scene with Batman of him on the rooftop fighting the parademon, that is awful. I hate that. That is really, really bad. But the one scene that in this movie that I really do still enjoy and love has to be the Superman revival scene, because when he is brought back to life and they're all fighting, when he's fighting, the Flash and Aquaman and Wonder Woman and Cyborg, that scene is great, and you can tell that a lot of that stuff is going to be in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and you can tell that that was his footage. And some other stuff with the first fight that they had when Aquaman shows up in that, like, the Gotham scene with J.K. Simmons and all that stuff, that was also a fairly good scene, and it felt kind of short a little bit, and that just, kind of more is on Steppenwolf as a character in this movie being super non-threatening. But those two scenes I think were very entertaining, to say the least. But in terms of Superman, I want a lot more from him, because yes, the direction that they went in this movie was more so the goody two-shoes type of Superman, and he just kind of wakes up and he's angry for a little bit, and all of a sudden he's that character that we all or at least a lot of people were clamoring for. And I get that they wanted to go in that direction because of all the backlash for that character. But I want to see what Zack Snyder was really planning with the Black Suit Superman and all this stuff, all that character development that he had for him bringing back. The end of his arc from Man of Steel to Batman vs. Superman to Justice League, I want to see what that was meant to be, because I do think that they had something with that. This character of learning to truly fight for humanity, and that's what he learned by the end of Batman vs. Superman. And in this movie, you don't get the satisfaction from that arc. You just don't get that. And when it comes to terrible CGI disasters, that's not Superman's mustache. Like, oh my god. But besides that, you have Steppenwolf, who is just flat in this movie. He falls so flat. He's not threatening whatsoever. He looks dorky. He looks goofy. He honestly looks like Liam Neeson to me. He looks like a CGI bloated Liam Neeson. I don't know why, but that's just what he looks like. And it's baffling because this character is in Batman vs. Superman in a very brief moment, and he looks awesome in that. And when you see him in this movie, he looks nothing the same, and I'm very excited they're doing a whole character redesign for him. But I just want him to be threatening. I want to be scared of him. I want him to be a force to be reckoned with. I want him to be actually somebody who feels like he can actually defeat the Justice League. Even when you have Superman, I want him to feel like he can beat them. And that is just something that is not in this movie. He's very dull. All he does is say mother, and then the lights just flashed. That's weird. I said mother and the lights flash. But anyways, that's all the character. Like, he's not a character. He's not a villain. He's just super flat and dull. I do like the scene, though, where Themyscira is defending their mother box. I think that is an awesome sequence. And you see some of that in the Snyder Cut, and I want to see more of that. I want to see a threatening version of that. Something that is actually, heart-pumping. Same thing with the underwater scene in Atlantis, with him getting that mother box. I want that to be threatening. And when he gets the third mother box in this version of the movie, it just kind of flies off and lands on a car, and he zaps down and grabs it. There has to be more to that. He can't just zap down and grab it, and like it is in this movie. There needs to be some action sequence of the Justice League actually defending the mother box. Otherwise, they just kind of let him take it. It's kind of baffling how bad that is in this movie, and I would be shocked. I would be genuinely shocked if that's how it is in the Snyder Cut. And also, with this movie, there's absolutely no nightmare stuff, and it just, none of that comes to fruition from Batman vs. Superman. So this movie just felt like a weird Elseworlds type of movie that was really trimmed down. Like I said, a polished turd, a skeleton to a movie that never was, but will actually come into fruition in just a few days here. So that is my review on this complete disaster of a movie. I'm really excited to see the original version of this film, the version that we should have got in theaters, or maybe not that we should have got in theaters. Honestly, I'm glad that we're getting this version that we're getting in a few days, because there's no way, even if people love Batman vs. Superman and love Man of Steel and it made all the money in the world, I still do not believe that Warner Brothers would have released a 4-hour long movie in theaters. Maybe we would have gotten like a 2-hour 45-minute version or a 3-hour version max, but there's no way in hell we were getting the version that we're getting in a few days in theaters back in 2017. So maybe in a weird way, this is the best possible route that they could have done with this movie. Maybe in a weird way, this sparks a revival of the Snyderverse, and maybe if my lights stop blinking, we will get a Batman movie with Ben Affleck. Very unlikely. Or maybe a Deathstroke movie like this movie teased. That was very intriguing for me. And I know there's talk with Joe Manganiello, I think that's how you say his name, of him having a Gareth Evans directed Deathstroke movie that was scrapped because of various different things with the DC universe and the head of Warner Brothers and all of this crazy stuff. Maybe this movie will get in a few days, spark some revival of all these things that we were very excited for. So that is my review of Justice League. I am very pumped to see what we get in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I'm so excited that I get a chance to watch it in theaters. So thanks guys for watching this video. I am pumped to get that review out for you guys, along with starting my Falcon and the Winter Soldier series that I will be uploading every morning at 3 a.m. because that's when I get my videos out for that, because I stay up super late, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So thanks guys for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel. Comment down below if you guys are excited for Zack Snyder's Justice League and what you thought of this movie when it originally came out and all of those great things. Leave a like, and I hope to see you all in my next one.